on to discuss how oil prices fluctuate, and I want him to explain what Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez is doing, threatening to withhold oil to the United States. Vila is an electronic engineer for NROF Corporation based in Houston in the United States, and I believe in Holland internationally. His company specializes in electronic instrumentation and develops projects for the oil industry. He is uniquely posed to observe the geopolitical ramifications of the oil industry. He has had 17 years of experience in it, managing projects originally in Venezuela and later in the rest of Latin America. And I'm not sure, are you still in Chile? Welcome to News Talk Online on Paltalk.com, Daniel.
How are you doing, Gary? Yes, actually I'm in Chile.
Well, welcome from Chile. How's the weather there?
It doesn't make me an expert, but well.
So let's talk about things that really affect people in the pocketbook here in the United States of America. I've never figured out why things that happen on the in the world that could potentially affect the cost of oil, which is traded as a commodity. It's not, that it's already in the pipeline. Let's say that an oil platform bursts in the Gulf of Mexico. Why does that affect the price at the pump tomorrow, since that oil is not scheduled to be in the pipeline for another week or 2 weeks? Why am I the very next day paying more for gasoline than I paid the day before?
Well, it has to do, to make a sort of analogy, it has to do more or less with the same effect that you have with the stock market. All the oil prices are more a psychological impact, and basically whatever happened in the oil producers' countries, and most likely are political issues and wars and things like that, will affect the price exactly the same way that prices of the stocks of different companies are affected. And that's probably the best analogy that we can make on that. Besides the fact that most of the transactions in the oil industry are made at future, so that would say that you could say that, okay, that will fix the price for the barrels that we are buying, but let's don't forget that we are not buying crude oil, we are buying a refined product, and those processes of refining change and affect all the things, no? But basically it's more of a psychological effect rather than the physical price of the commodity that we are buying at the pump station.
Let me ask you this about the whole issue of fossil fuels. Is it as finite as we've been told? Or I actually read a story this past week that suggested that the earth replenishes this oil, and we're not just consuming things that isn't going to come back, that we're going to have oil. I don't know whether it meets the demand that we have now, because our consumption may be a little bit out of control, but basically if we're careful about it, we're never going to run out of oil.
Well, oil is, as everybody knows, is a non-renewable resource. It's not like we're never going to run out of oil. The problem is that probably for us, we will continue seeing oil for, let's say, the next couple of 100 years, but there are no way to recover that. I mean, we don't have any more dinosaurs to bury and convert it in oil. And once it's finished, it's finished. But the problem is our generations probably won't see that, but definitely our next generations, our grandkids, and the kids will see that effect. And it has to do not only with the use of the resources, but also the contamination and things like that. That's basically the reason why everybody's trying to look for alternatives on the fuel managing and use.
The guest is Daniel Vila. He's an oil expert. He knows a lot about Venezuela. That's where he got his start in the oil industry. So I wanted to ask you, Daniel, about this threat Hugo Chavez has made to cut off the flow of oil to the United States. How could he physically do that, given the fact that that oil is traded on the open market as a commodity?
That's a good question. To be honest with you, I'm a Venezuelan citizen. I'm trying to be objective in this issue, but it's hard for me to do that. But basically, again, it's another political game that they are playing down there. U.S. is probably the first customer from Venezuelan oil, and they cannot, close the valve and not sell any more crude oil to the States, because that's basically their main customer.